Hello everyone, my name is Clantis and welcome to the clan. So without further ado, let's get into this video. So before I go any further, please do me a favor by smashing the like button because guys, it is triggering the YouTube algorithm. I don't know if you have noticed, we are at 9,000 subscribers. So welcome everybody that is new on this channel. You are now officially an honorable member of the clan and you are warmly welcome once again. Thank you all so much. So let's continue on this and continue to give the like button 1,000 likes every time we come on these streets, because we need to go to the Gauteng High Court at the Senzo Meyiwa murder retrial, where the opening scene today was the judge holding the medical report in his hand of Fizokuhle Ntuli, accused number 5, who fell ill yesterday, and that forced the court to adjourn until today, this morning. So of course today did not go without drama. And the first thing that I noticed while I was listening into this case, at some point I was like, wait a minute, am I hearing a pin drop? Oh, the judge is silent. What happened? What would the change of attitude? And seemingly, Advocate Baloyi did not get the memo, or maybe he was not paying attention that he's no longer the teacher's pet. Because there was some point where he tried to squeeze in something with looking down on the defense, but unfortunately that fell on deaf ears when it came to the judge. And I think Advocate Mnisi, sneaky person he is. He's a very sneaky person, and I like his strategy because I think he got the state once again pinned against the wall. However, though, before we get there, let's talk about Fizokuhle Ntuli's medical report. Of course, apparently, according to the report, he was treated by a doctor of a Mr. Chang or something like that at Edenvale Hospital, which is on the other side of town, I suppose, of Pretoria. I'm not sure if there's Edenvale in Pretoria or this Edenvale that I know of. I'm not quite sure. Please do correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So, of course, the judge was satisfied that Fizokuhle Ntuli was indeed ill because apparently he has a stable illness that is not required for him to be admitted into hospital, and therefore he was treated at 1:15 yesterday, the 12th of September 2023, and then he was discharged the same day. And then, of course, we did see him in court today, looking as good and well as he always did, and looking up in the sky, and I'm not quite sure. Somebody please tell us what's in that court. What's the design of the roof of the court? Is it a Sistine Chapel type of design? What's going on there? Please, I'm curious, because accused number 5 is always looking up there. Like, what's happening there? What's up there? So, of course, the judge wanted to know from the state, and now that he has the medical report, what exhibit is it going to be? And then, of course, Advocate Baloyi hesitantly a little bit confused, and he was like, oh, okay, it's going to be exhibit Z. For my American audience, it's Z. Exhibit Z. So when all it was done, this is when the judge handed over the proceedings to Advocate Mnisi, who was still on the floor, to continue cross-examining Mr. Zungu. And of course, he went on this long, very interesting cross-examination, I must add. But anyways, guys, what became interesting during the cross-examination is the attitude of the judge. He seemed to have changed, like overnight. And now the question I'm asking myself, wait a minute, because the judge or judges or the judiciary in this country is not supposed to be influenced by outside noises and forces and things like that, so that their independence, it is solidified. The question now was, okay, is he aware that the public is up in arms about what he had done the day before yesterday? And something very interesting as well, which I think I'm going to mention it now. Towards the end of today's proceedings, he made a ruling. I don't know if you noticed, maybe it's me. In his ruling, he read out what sounded like a judgment of what's to happen after what Advocate Mnisi sought. So this is to dispel any suspicion about his judgment that he had made about the non-existent original statements that were made by Mr. Zungu. Remember, we were asking how when on Sunday you are busy writing a judgment of something that you should not know about until you enter court and you hear the state tells you that, well, those original papers were shredded and destroyed according to the investigator. But no, when on a Sunday afternoon you are busy the entire day, entire night with a judgment and all the precedences, and then you come and deliver them in court as if you were communicated to the previous day about the non-existence of the shredded notes. And then I was like, well, this one, he only came up with one precedent, Shabalala, and he couldn't particularly, his hands, he couldn't particularly pinpoint the citation of Shabalala, but he knows that it was Shabalala versus I don't know who in the Transvaal 1995. And I was like, sir, you said it yourself that he was busy going through his judgment. He said, I wrote this judgment last night. So now you're coming with almost what you wanted us to look and sound like, a lengthy judgment on postponing today's proceedings because Advocate Mnisi asked for the photos. Judge, we see you. We're not stupid. So then there was a short adjournment. When they returned from the short adjournment, I think this is where Advocate Baloyi made a big mistake because what was to come, I don't think he was ready for it. He then stood on an objection regarding a question by Advocate Mnisi during his cross-examination of Mr. Zungu that the accused introduced themselves when in fact this is what Baloyi says, when in fact it was Gwabeni who is it Gwabeni or Gwabeni, guys? Because I keep seeing people saying that Gwabeni is Tagazelo Sakwazungu, meaning it is the clan name of the Zungus. I don't know that, but how Zungu pronounces it in court, maybe I'm not listening properly. He says Gwabini, but I'm being told that Gwabeni is Tagazelo. So which one is it? Please balance me on that one because I'm a little bit confused, because if it's called but it's Tagazelo, shouldn't it be Gwabeni rather than Gwabini? You understand what I'm trying to say here? Please assist me with that one. So he says actually it was Gwabini or Gwabeni that introduced the accused. I don't know to who. So he wanted to make that correction. This is when Advocate Mnisi stood up and said, well, Advocate, let me just read in verbatim what he said, because I do not want to misquote him and then find myself in trouble with some of you who are going to say, no, but that's not what he said. I'm just looking for for that statement that he made when he stood up on his request. And I thought that request was pretty interesting and important. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm looking at my notes. I can't find it. I know it's somewhere. Where is it? So anyways, they agreed that the records will speak for themselves regarding what the witness had said, whether he said it is the accused that introduced themselves or it was Gwabeni who introduced them. And then the judge wanted to say something, and in my mind, I'm like, Judge, you've been behaving well so far. He only managed to say, yeah, and then he held himself. Then I said, okay, let's go. Let's continue. So basically, this is the statement of Advocate Mnisi when he stood up. This is after a short adjournment. He says, it would be in the best interest of justice that I make the following submission. The court would remember that just before we could adjourn, I took this witness through the photos with the view to try find some clarifications on certain issues that are way of concern to me on behalf of accused number 3. It transpires, my lord, that I am hamstrung to proceed with my cross-examination without further information relating to the photos. It would be recalled that we had a testimony of, I think, of Mr. Steenkamp, Mr. Mabaso, and Mr. Nkosi, who said that they confiscated the cell phone of accused number 3, from which they found a whole lot of photos and they downloaded them into a disk on instruction of Mr. Gininda. Certain photos were then compiled for the court purposes. In other words, out of maybe 500 photos, Mr. Gininda may probably said, I don't want these 500 photos. I only want photos where where accused number 3 is appearing with his dreadlocks and a particular color of attire. But the essence of which that it was not only those photos that we are now seeking for here at court, the other photos as well. This is also of what happened to Mr. Musia when he came to court with only 8 photos. But it then transpired that he took more than 30 photos. That is the analogy of the request. I am also going to request that we be furnished with the disk that contains all the photos that were downloaded from accused number 3's phone. Alternatively, that we be furnished with accused number 3's phone. This is not from me. It's actually from Mr. Mkudu, the gentleman that I am representing. We all request that information because of now, I'm definitely not in a position to proceed on behalf of my client. To proceed to cross-examine the witness without those photos be made available. That is my request and application, says Mr. Misi. And the camera kind of like zoomed onto Baloyi, who looked rather shocked and a little bit concerned at the same time. And then, of course, he has to act strong and as if and confident and affirm and confirm that, oh, this is piece of cake. We have those. So you don't have to worry about that. And so, of course, the judge wanted to know from the state if they heard the request. And then this is when Mr. Baloyi stood up and said, and I will quote him as well, that certain photos were selected for the purpose of compiling a photo album. It is not a problem. We can make arrangements that all the photos that were downloaded on accused number 3's cell phone be made available. However, the only problem we have is not continue with the matter. This is where Advocate Baloyi, I don't think he got the memo from the judge's behavior that he can no longer get away with murder, because he went down that road again where he's belittling the defense by saying, well, I don't think this is a problem, but we can continue. The aspect can stand down and other issues, this is Baloyi now, the aspect can stand down and other issues can be canvassed with this witness, just like we did with Sergeant Musia. That is a lie. Everybody had wrapped up the cross-examination of Musia, including the state itself. They did not stand him down. The only person that was stood down was Mabasa, I think. And then he continues to say, we proceeded and he was recalled at a later stage, which is a lie. Mr. Musia was they're done with with cross-examination. The only time he was recalled was when Tobeka mentioned something about Musia that basically she was pointing fingers at Musia, like, oh no, well, Musia. And then, of course, the defense stood and said, no. If this witness is not going to answer very crucial questions, then we should recall Mr. Musia on the stand. That is why Musia was back on the stand, not because he was stood down and called at the later stage. And Baloyi continues to say, we can make similar arrangement that we can proceed and that the aspect regarding the photos stand down and we furnish them with all the photos if they deem it's necessary. At a later stage, the witness can be recalled. So I made a small little note after he said that, and I said, I don't think that Baloyi has seen the change in his friend's attitude. Because as far as I'm concerned, the judge is in bed with the state. I stand by that. Then the judge wanted to know, when can this information be supplied to the defense? He was asking the state. The state said, well, maybe by end of the week, because we still need to make arrangements. By end of the week, latest Friday, they are going to furnish the defense with this information that they are seeking. But of course, the judge was not having it. Again, he seemed to have changed his attitude. But at the same time, at this point, he was starting to be a little bit hesitant, almost scared-like. But he was forced to make a judgment regarding this request by Advocate Mnisi. Advocate Baloyi insisted that they continue with cross-examination, but Advocate Mnisi continued to say, I'm sorry, I cannot proceed with a cross-examination of this witness without the photos. And Mnisi continued to say that he cannot haphazardly just jump the sequence of his cross-examination of this witness. Everything is sequential. Everything is sequential in his cross-examination of this particular witness, so he needs those photos. So the judge then wanted to know from Advocate Mnisi where his client's phone, and Advocate Mnisi said it's in the hands of the state. The state stood up and confirmed that it may be with SAP 13 store, but he's going to make arrangements to find out if the phone is there. And then the court wanted to know the whereabouts of Gininda, and of course, Advocate Baloyi said he will definitely be, they just called him and he's going to compile this request, and then he would bring it by end of the day today, or maybe by lunchtime today, the defense would have had what they have requested for. But there was a little bit of a scuffle between the judge and Advocate Mshololo. I think at this point, the judge kind of like forgot his position and his attitude that he needs to be a judge and not a witness, and also testify on behalf of the witness. And the judge said, this court is fair. I was like, no, sir. This trial is not fair anymore. So this is when the judge made his ruling, and this is where I thought, you're funny. So now you're busy writing a judgment because you want to demonstrate to us that that judgment you made the other day was made in court, when in fact you said, I wrote this last night. We did not, no, we heard that and we haven't forgotten that. So this is when he went on a judgment, and he said regarding the request, this court is prepared to postpone this matter to tomorrow. So the defense must have access to the master copy of the disc. The state concedes that some of those photos, 47 and 48, for instance, were downloaded from accused's cell phone together with other photos. But Mr. Mnisi is hamstrung because accused number 3's cell phone has been confiscated by the state. Consequently, the source of the photos, which we have, or both sources of the photos, the master copy and the cell phone of accused number 3 with investigating officer. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I get it. You are busy writing. The English will jump in here and there. I got that, but I understood what he was saying. And for those reasons, the court is amiable to extending. This is when Advocate Mnisi interrupted and then sought that it must not only be the disc, but also the cell phone of accused number 3. So the judge then paused for a good 7 seconds, and in my mind, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it, judge, don't do it. And then he does it, and he says, you know, I have something to say about that. And I was like, oh, there we go again. But instead of addressing the defense about his thoughts, he then turned to the state, and this is what he said. You know what? I've got my view about that. And I don't want to say, and then ... For instances, I would say if the state only interested in that phone because this case only, again, I'm realizing, oh my goodness, this man is nervous about something because there are words that are missing in what he was saying. Can you read what I'm saying? He's looking at Baloyi. Baloyi, the camera zooms, pans on him. He looks up, a little bit confused, like, what is this man talking about? And then he stood up and he said, indeed, my lord. And then he sat down. The drama. Then the judge wanted to know if this is still the position. I'm not quite sure if this is a code or what is going on between the judge and Baloyi, because that part for me did not make sense at all. If it did to you, please, I beg you, in the comment section, let me know what was he trying to say. I'm talking about the judge to Baloyi. So Baloyi stood up and said, yes, they are going to make arrangements for accused number 3's phone to be brought to court. Also, if the whole process be examined before state analyst, I think that is Mabasa or something like that. So all of that is going to take place in the presence of Mabasa, and Advocate Mnisi said he had no problem with that. And then the judge continued to make his judgment and said the analyst as well must come to court tomorrow, together with Mabisa's cell phone. That's how we called him, not accused number 3. Then Baloyi stood up and said because he realized that the cell phone thing might be a hot potato on his hands, and basically told the court that also the cell phones of accused number 2 and accused number 5 were also confiscated. However, accused number 4's cell phone was not confiscated. And then the judge wanted to know from Advocate Ngumalo if he had his cell phone on the time of his arrest, and Ngumalo said no, he did not have it. And then the judge said something that I also didn't understand. He said, it figures. And I was like, okay, shade. This is when Advocate Steve Ramasipile also stood up and said accused number 1 and 2 cell phones, they had 2 each, were also confiscated. The judge said 2 each, both, they had 2 phones each. They said yes. Accused number 1 had 2 cell phones, they were confiscated. Accused number 2 also had 2 cell phones and they were confiscated. And then the judge said, you also want them? And Advocate Ramasipile said, yes, I want them also. And this is when the judge adjourned the court today until tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the morning. And that was the end. So anyways, guys, I think that today was quite dramatic as far as I'm concerned. It was quite funny at the same time too, to watch the judge's attitude just changing. So the question is he reading and is he watching YouTube and how people are actually not happy with the way he is presiding over this matter? Maybe even the accusations that he is now presiding over an unfair trial? Or maybe Judge President, who's also listening to what the public is saying, called him to order and said, listen, just be a judge and preside over this matter. Stop making opinions and also speaking on behalf of witnesses and the state, because it's making the judiciary look bad. I'm not quite sure what happened behind the scenes because his attitude had changed. Or was it just me? Okay, guys, if you like the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, give it a like. Anyways, do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the bell notification so you get notified every time I upload a new video. My super thanks are turned on. Thank you all so much that are super thanking this channel and supporting it financially. I highly appreciate you guys so very much. Leave me a comment down below and let me know, what did you think about today's proceedings? What do you think about Advocate Mnisis' strategy? I'm liking it. He is sneaky, I must say. But then the question is, does the state have all those things? Because already so far, the state is not giving what is needed by the defense. But let's see. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, okay, whatever. And also share this video far and wide. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next time with a new video. Goodbye.